That's such a Greg thing to say.
I guess. I mean, considering I said it.
What'd this guy have?
Oh my god!
Welcome, everybody, to the Season 3 premiere of Serial Chillers Podcast, Episode 61, here at the Super Network Studio. This episode is brought to you by Fluffy Hen Resin. You can find her on Instagram at FluffyHen_resin. More information in the outro. Today we brought, for the season premiere, Ed Kemper. We brought back Alex and Joseph. Of course, Hella Greg is here. Oh my god, you guys, we're back! Oh, we're excited. You know the rules. Sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 61 of the Serial Chillers Podcast. All right. Welcome, everybody. We're back. Season 3, episode 61 of 1 million of the Serial Chillers Podcast. Yes, from the Super Network Studios, indeed. Coming to us live from the bunker, all the way across the internet. How goes it, co-host Greg?
It's good. Everything's good.
Solid.
Full of buffalo chicken wings and ready to roll.
That sounds heartburny.
It is.
And we have here in the Super Network Studio two of your favorite guests sitting across from me. You know him only as JXZXPH. It's like Joseph, but cooler. Yeah. So, hey, Joseph.
I'm really glad you said mine first. I thought you were going to go alphabetical.
I thought he was going to go that way too.
I'm really glad I got it first.
I tend to go left or right, if I must say.
All
so
right.
I like this.
that's
Hello.
Yeah, welcome, Joseph. Welcome, Joseph. Hey, Alex.
Yeah, I was second in case you guys didn't pick up what was going on.
That was underwhelming.
Yeah, I'm here with JXPHX.
JXZXPH.
I wouldn't know. I was second.
It's like Joseph.
So we're going to take this back from the top and do Alex first. We need a better vibe in the room. I'm just kidding.
Oh no, it's fine. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Kidding.
What's up, guys?
Yeah,
It's me, Alex.
Put me in.
it is wonderful to have you guys. I've got a good one for you, I think. Right. But before that, you guys already know how the show works. You've been here a lot of times. But let me explain it for anybody who doesn't. Each week I sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell them the story of an infamous serial killer. Throughout the show, you guys can chime in on my story. And if you brought a story of your own that is true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious, please feel free to share it. Lastly, if you have questions about questions, make sure to ask questions because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never ask questions. Are there any questions?
Let's do this.
You guys fucking
That
know
is
how
not a
it
question.
goes.
Let's go.
Welcome to and let's play the Serial Chillers Podcast. Yeah. You guys, today's serial killer is Edmund Emil Kemper III. We brought Ed Kemper. Joseph,
Said nobody ever to any
I
party.
was just going to say, I did not have a reaction, so I don't know.
Joseph looked very confused, and that excites me. You'll probably know later. Question number 1. In what year is Edmund Emil Kemper III born? Probably just call him Ed from here on out, though. Closest gets 250 points. If you nail it, it's 1,000 points coming at your way.
Got to go with your gut.
Alex says 1963. Joseph says 1938. And with that, Joseph's going to score 250 points because Ed Kemper was born December 18th, 1948.
Good job, Joseph. It's because he announced you first. It's not because you're.
I had the first look.
Yeah.
So, the animosity continues, as does the show. December 18th, 1940. I'm going to reach across and I'm just going to touch Alex.
I didn't know what he was doing. I was like, okay.
So, December 18th, 1948. Ed is born in Burbank, California. He is the second of 3 kids and the son of Clarnell and E.E. Kemper Jr. So, Burbank, 57. His parents are pretty much leading a very unstable marriage. They separate, and they won't officially divorce for another 4 years, but it probably at 9 is not an easy thing to deal with. So he starts out like what most or every serial killer we do. It's like, well, kind of tragic childhood, abused a little, maybe a little molest. 1958, he's 10 years old. His mother decides to move his room to the basement, claiming that his sisters were afraid of his size. Ed's going to be a fucking giant, and he's a giant kid early on too. I think she seemed to be afraid that. Well, later he claims that she claimed that she did it because she thought Ed would rape his sisters.
I remember hearing that.
Yeah. So that was his most of what we have as far as this story goes is in Ed's own words. Greg, how familiar are you with Edmund Kemper?
I know the name and I know a little bit about him, but not enough to say, I don't know, do a podcast about him.
That's why you're here. You're the balance,
Yeah.
Yeah, boy. So you'll know more about him by the end of today's episode. To me, it feels a little more like maybe his mom did see something.
I think yeah. I think that's what I remember hearing. Like, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, she's kind of a fucking huge asshole always and forever throughout his entire life. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't. It makes sense that she would just do it because she's kind of a fucking asshole. Mm-hmm. But also, she may have seen something coming. Yeah. Either way, to Edmund, he said it's traumatizing. He was abused by his mother. Fair enough. He had to live in a basement he literally had the pull cord single light bulb hanging from the ceiling.
That could be cool.
And
never mind 48.
Yeah. It's like the late 50s.
Yeah, never mind. Yeah. That's a shed.
Yeah. So, and from what I understand, he had there's a light at the top of the stairs. He had a light and then go down the stairs and then cross the basement. And then he had this little spot under the stairs.
I like to imagine that 70s show. How they chilled in that.
I was picturing that or Harry Potter, and he was in
a
little
under the stairs.
Yeah,
he lived under the basement stairs. I think that's how his bed was.
It was a little nook.
Yeah, little nook. That's perfect.
Anyway,
he lived in the basement. He was a troll. So she would tell him on multiple occasions that he would never amount to anything. She called him a loser. She made him feel small despite his gigantic size. Question number 2. Ed, like many serial killers, will start his killing with animals. What animal? Is it A, a dog, B, a cat, C, a bird, or D, squirrels? Okay, Alex says cat. Joseph says squirrel. We've got a tie going here because Alex does hit with a 250. It's gato.
He was a big guy. I didn't think he was agile.
It's gato.
Actually, no, a squirrel's hard. All right, I'm a bad guesser. Never mind.
All right, Joseph's second guessing his entire philosophy on guessing. So I think I have 9 pretty early. You guys know me. I don't love to do questions during the murders. Yeah. There's never a really tasteful question to ask. So we've got a lot early here. We're going to get some scoring done. I think there's 10 total.
You said there's, okay.
10 total, I believe. Yeah. Cool. Plenty of time. 250 to 250 tie. In his preteen years, Ed is going to kill both of the family cats. He mutilates them and buries them. They were found by his mother. Yes, just what are these freshly dug grave-looking things in my backyard? Yeah, he wasn't very bright. It didn't seem until later they're going to say he might be. He's said to have done this to the cats because he said that the cats began to favor his sister more than him.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's one of the documentaries, Louis Schlesinger is the dude with the badass mustache. You've all seen him if you watch a true crime doc. He's got the white mustache and the white hair. He kind of looks like Lois Griffin's dad.
Carter Pewterschmidt?
Carter Pewterschmidt. He looks a lot like Carter Pewterschmidt. But yeah, he said that a lot of serial killers use cats because they represent women. It's a feminine animal. So that's like an early escalation for serial killers who will be attracted to women is that they'll kill cats. So it's an early tell sign. Yes. So he's it's not going well pretty early on because I think he's 13 right now.
13 when he starts killing.
Yeah, for killing cats. During his preteen years, he'll have a crush on one of his grade school teachers. I
Okay.
think he's only like 9 or 10
When he
right
starts
now.
killing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's in grade school. And one of his sisters asks, like, why don't you just kiss her? And he says, he remembers telling his sister at this time that if I kiss her, I'd have to kill her first.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Necrophiliac.
Yeah. So, question number 3. He played some weird games with his sisters as a child. One that he specifically remembers was called A, electric chair, B, the pit, C, execution, or D, gas chamber.
Say it one more time.
Electric chair, the pit, execution, or gas chamber. This was a game he played with his sister.
Were you looking over here?
No. If I wanted to win, I wouldn't look at you, bro.
Oh,
Damn, boy.
That being said, I need to get this right.
Yeah, I was going to say. Jeez.
I took one out.
Okay, Joseph says execution. Alex says gas chamber. You guys want to see where I'm going to write it?
Yeah.
Alex gets 250 points because the game was called Gas Chamber. He played Gas Chamber with his sister. He would sit in a chair. They would like throw the light switch and he would sit there and like
start freaking out.
start kind of like pretending he was being killed by gas and fall on the ground and flop around. And I think it was...
That's kind of weird. That's a weird game.
It's a weird game, but like think to your childhood and all the things you played. Like when you later become a serial killer and your sisters tell the story, they're gonna, it's probably gonna seem pretty fucking weird. There's probably many times in your life where someone can point out a single situation that might make you seem like a fucking crazy asshole. So it's I don't know. It's one of those things where it bears mentioning because everybody does, but I don't know. A dumb game as kids. He wasn't like touching them all weird. He wasn't playing, what was it called, with
Bup.
Albert Fish, Bup.
Something.
Yeah, he wasn't doing that. They're just playing. There was another one where they would roll each other up in a fucking large rug and try to get out. First of all,
Ed
fuck
Kemper
that.
played this, or
Yeah, Ed Kemper and his sister played this.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Dead body
So gas
found.
chamber and then the rug one. That one, I think even a non-claustrophobic person would safely say that they don't want to be rolled up inside a fucking rug.
Yeah, that's.
I
scary.
played that one. It's not as much fun as it sounds.
Oh my god, I'm getting like anxiety. Like legit, my heart rate is going up. Fucking thinking about getting rolled inside a rug right now. So let's get past that part. Yeah. With the rug thing, I think Ed really enjoyed seeing his sister struggle in.
She was the one that was getting rolled up. Then.
Well, they were rolling each other up,
okay.
but I think he particularly enjoyed more when he put his sisters in there because he he was in control. Like he put them in there, and they couldn't.
yeah.
Like I think it was an early thing for him. There's another story where he goes and sees like a magician who has a guillotine. And the guillotine, he like drops the guillotine and it cuts a potato and he asks for a volunteer and the volunteer is like this 16-year-old girl and Ed Kemper's like, she was just so beautiful and I like couldn't get my mind off
Weird.
it. And she goes in the guillotine drops and it doesn't cut her head off, it cuts the potato and the potato drops into the basket and it totally turns Ed on. Like all he wants to do is see a beautiful 16-year-old girl's head cut off.
Yeah.
Like it's a very early
I've never heard that Ed Kemper story.
Yeah, I believe I heard it on Gen Y, and then I went and checked it out, and it's just a
fun fact.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's a legit story. But Ed Kemper, like I said, he gave I don't know if it's quite a few, but he gave some really long, very thorough interviews, and he
always looks super sad too.
Yeah, and his facts change a lot within his stories too. So they everything we have is from his story because we'll see. You'll see.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes,
Is when you say he was big, is he like big in weight or big in height?
both.
Both. He's just a
Oh,
big
he's like tall and
human.
big.
So let me just double check that I don't ask you guys how tall he is.
He's a big human.
Like
Like JP, probably, but bigger.
Bigger.
Yeah. Like
Like
Bigfoot, Casey?
like
weight
bigger
and
than
vein
Bigfoot
drop.
Casey. Okay, he's I believe that at his largest he's going to be like 6'9", 280.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So,
LeBron James.
yeah, LeBron James probably weighs right around 260, 250, I would guess. Yeah. Yep. LeBron James. A very much less muscular, less athletic, wears glasses, has a weird mustache, creamy white skin. LeBron James.
LeBron James.
LeBron James. Okay. So, sorry. Okay. So the gas chamber, they're getting rolled up in a goddamn rug. Ed had this really nice, realistic looking cap gun. He had they went to New York City at some point and he got it. And there was some time where he and his sister were fighting and she threw it at him and missed, but it broke the hammer on the back of he couldn't cock the cap gun anymore. And so he took his sister's Barbie and he popped the head off. And he realized well, this comes off. I want to break this. So he went and got some scissors and he fucking cut the arms and legs off of her doll. Ooh. Yeah. So
That's actually pretty normal for an older brother. I'd say.
I was actually just going to
that
say
one, I was well, no.
Just as I did that.
I was the younger sibling.
yeah, I'm guessing not, we've all probably older siblings done something like this, but I think it's just foreshadowing. So, 1961, Ed's now 13. Edmund's parents' divorce is final, and he seems to be very affected by his father's absence. He idolizes his father and wanted nothing more than to be with him, but for now he'll stay with his mother until she is sick of hearing him talk about how amazing his father was. Question number 4. How long would Ed's mom last before she shipped him off? Was it A, 6 weeks, B, 6 months, C, 1 year, or D, 2 years? Joseph says 6 months, Alex says 6 weeks, and neither of them are getting points because at the age of 15, right about 2 years later, so she held it down for a little while. She stuck in there. She sends him to live with his father and stepmother in Los Angeles, California. I believe they're in Santa Cruz at this point.
Yeah, they went to New York from Santa Cruz.
Balling out, homie. It did not, or maybe someone brought it back for him or something like that. It did not work out well at all with his father, although Edmund thought that he had an amazing relationship with his father and he idolized him. Upon arriving, the 15-year-old, 6'4", 200-pound Ed was a large burden on his father and his wife, both figuratively and literally. Very large burden. I don't have any specifics really other than his stepmother said that she got migraines just from Ed's presence. It lasted just a few months before his father shipped him off to live back with his mother. At some point before 1963, his mom's going to start being very blunt with him and telling him you're a fucking weirdo. You have to get shit figured out. You're fucking nothing and you're just a fucking weirdo. And I don't know who this wouldn't fucking bug, but it affects Ed a lot. He's throughout his life, he's going to be very hurt by his mom very easily. So
mommy issues.
There's some
Is
mommy
that a thing?
issues. Yeah, I think so. Later that year in 1963, his mother left him at his grandparents, his dad's parents. They're Maud and Edmund Kemper Sr. Maud 66, Edmund Sr. 72. They lived in North Fork, California, not far from here, up in the mountains here. In 1964, he's been there a little less than a year, but rolled into 64. His grandparents enroll him in Sierra Joint Union High School. Edmund's an average student, caused no trouble. He visited his mother, and every time he did, he was much worse upon returning to his grandparents' house. This will remain the case throughout his entire life. It doesn't matter how long they're apart. When they do get together, it's toxic, and they just never fucking stay away from one another. They're constantly around each other, and they're constantly fucking up. So Ed returns to his grandparents, worse for the wear, as we said before. I think it was to give him something to do, but it was a terrible idea. But his grandfather gives him a .22 caliber rifle to shoot rabbits and gophers. Like it's helping where they're living in North Fork. But I don't think his grandfather really sees what, the joy that Ed is getting out of this. Yeah, so Ed loves to do it. His grandmother, I think, felt something different, though, because after a while, she would start hiding her husband's .45 caliber handgun so that Ed would not take it when she was out of the house. Of course, she would come home often, and Ed would say that it was very clear that he had been looking through everything for it. Question number 5, what's going to happen at the breaking point? A, Ed is going to run away from his grandparents. B, he's going to punch his grandpa. C, his grandpa is going to punch him. Or D, Ed is going to kill them both. Joseph says he runs away. Alex says he kills them both. You guys went opposite ends of the spectrum. You went the pacifist.
That was super extreme.
The pacifist route, the super extreme.
I don't like the smile you're doing right now.
These pretzels are making me thirsty.
It's just my face.
So, August 27th, 1964, Ed Kemper shoots his grandmother in the back of the head with a rifle that his grandfather had given him. 250 points to Alex, by the way.
That's rough.
I believe she was sitting at the table, eating breakfast or reading one thing or the other.
It was like
a sweet old
she wasn't really doing anything. She was just
chilling.
Yeah, she was just hanging out.
reading.
Shoots her in the back of the head, twice in the back, stabs her 3 times. His grandpa returns shortly. Ed meets him out in the driveway, shoots him once in the head.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
He said that he killed his grandpa because he was protecting him. He didn't want him to go in and see his dead wife and have a heart attack. So he came in and put one through his head.
Like a mercy kill.
Yeah, instead. Question number 6. What does Edmund do after killing both of his grandparents?
I have no idea.
Does he A, call his mom? B, chop them up and try to hide the bodies? C, runs away? Or D, just leaves them and lives his life normally as if they're not there?
Can you say him one more time?
Yes, of course. He calls his mom, chops them up, and tries to hide the bodies. He runs away or just leaves them and keeps living like they're not there. Both of you guys say that he just leaves his grandparents there and lives his life normally as if they're not. Great minds, huh? That's a truly psychopathic thing to do. However, almost immediately after killing his grandparents,
He calls mom.
Ed calls his mom and asks her what he should do.
That was my second choice.
I was thinking because he was an idiot when he killed the cats, just buried him. I was like, well, what would a dummy do? I was like, just keep going on.
Yeah.
But as I've been wrong before,
It's a 750, Alex. 250, Joseph. We are through 6 questions, 4 to go.
I feel like I already lost.
Yep. We haven't even got to
Don't say that, Joseph. Be positive.
You're
Yeah,
only
be
saying that
positivo.
because you're winning.
Be positivo. Yeah, so he calls his mom. His mom says, call the sheriff. He was taken in for questioning and immediately confessed to both murders. He told the sheriff that he, quote, just wanted to see what it felt like to shoot grandma. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
That's fun. Sounds lovely. I'm not very close with my grandma, but I've never wondered what it was like to shoot her in the back of the head.
Yeah,
I love my
that's
grand.
nuts.
So
That's a question reserved for a very special few people.
yeah, that's true.
In fact, if you find yourself with that question, seek help.
Please, the official stance of the Serial Chillers podcast. Those thoughts equal give someone a call. Yeah, so that comment is in direct conflict with what he'll say later, because he'd later say that he killed his grandmother because she reminded him so much of his mother. She's a disciplinary. It wasn't his mom's mom, though. It was his dad's mom.
Yeah.
But she would say that he was she was a crazy disciplinarian. I think she was just old fashioned. This
She was
is
a female.
Yeah, that is also true. If I'm not mistaken, his grandpa will be the only male that he kills throughout it all. So, he's placed into a juvenile hall detention center while the California Youth Authority decided what to do with him. Psychiatrists initially diagnosed Ed with a personality trait disturbance and was a passive-aggressive type. December 6, 1964, Ed seems to finally see someone who knows what the fuck they're talking about and is diagnosed as a paranoid and psychotic by the court-appointed psychiatrist. The youth authority committed him to a Atascadero State Hospital, where he becomes a trusted individual, not just amongst the other inmates, but also amongst the psychologists in the facility. So he really becomes like these guys, like they're friends.
Mm-hmm.
He became
friends with them.
He's a 15-year-old murderer, and he is like legitimately. I mean, he doesn't leave with them, but while they're there, they're homies. Like he's like the psychologist's assistant. They give him nearly unlimited access to case files and allowing him to learn exactly what the psychologists and psychiatrists are looking for to see whether or not an individual is insane. So there's some he said something like he memorized the answers to 28 different tests to prove that he wasn't fucking crazy. And they gave him that access because he didn't seem crazy and he was very helpful. And, those were his friends. Wow. Yeah, it's a different time, man. It's a different time. Ed is also given an IQ test while he's at the facility. Question number 7. What did this IQ test reveal? What was Edmund Kemper's IQ? Which I don't really take a lot of stock in. I don't know necessarily. I think it's a fun number.
Is this a stab at one?
Yeah, this is closest is 250. If you nail it, it is 1,000 points. Joseph, you can get back into it with one swing of the bat right here.
This doesn't make
Worse. I hate this music.
I'm just like, I'm done. Give up.
You don't have to guess right now, Greg. Don't scowl at me.
What are you gonna put?
Don't look.
You look like a Wallace and Gromit character when you scowl, besides the giant teeth. Nope, now you look like a Wallace and Gromit character. You're a child. Okay, so Alex says, I know. Alex says 101. What'd you say again, Joseph?
149. I went big.
149. I said that to Greg as I have a fucking shelf full of toys
Like, you're a
behind.
child. Look at this collection.
You're a child.
And I couldn't even keep them in the box. God damn it. 149 from Joseph.
I said 101.
101 from Alex. Joseph is going to take 250 points on this one and get close because Ed Kemper was said to have scored a 140 on that IQ test.
Wow, Joseph.
Genius level is 140. 140 to 145 is
I
where
couldn't
like
remember
the
what
genius
the
level
threshold
begins.
was.
Me neither.
I think
just
how many
remember
episodes
Brick's-
have we had to go look it up, Greg?
Entirely too many.
Yeah.
I just remember Brick saying my IQ is 48, so I know 48 is low.
Yes. While he's putting mayonnaise in the toaster. I am
140
rarely
to
late.
145 is genius.
Yeah, 140 to 145 is. I looked it up because we've looked it up a million times, and today I'm like going over it. I'm like, oh, fuck, what is it again? And I had to look it back up. So, yes, genius levels 140 to 145. Ed Kemper is a 140. I don't know if that makes him a genius. I just think Also, he had access to all those tests.
are like notoriously flawed.
Yeah, it's a thing. It doesn't necessarily mean much, but armed with all of the information he is given by the psychologists, his 140 IQ, his intelligence, we'll call it, his wit, his charm, and he's able to convince this group of psychologists that he's not insane. Question number 8. At what age would he finally be released from the facility? He was 15, almost 16 when he got put in.
Are we stabbing at this?
Yes, please. Feel free to use the back of note cards and stuff too, guys. We got plenty of them.
Okay.
I like doing it on one.
All right. Alex says 41. Joseph said 18.
It was a juvenile.
Joseph is getting 200.
I don't know what I was thinking.
Points.
It
I
was
don't know
a
what I was
juvenile
thinking.
center, wasn't it?
Guys, Joseph got in my head.
You went with 41.
I believe no. He's just at a Atascadero State Hospital.
Oh, I thought he was a
Yeah,
juvenile.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I didn't go any bigger.
But he was released at the age of 21 after serving just over 5 years for the fucking cold-blooded murder of his grandparents.
What are we looking at? points.
Oh, it's a
wise.
tie game, buddy.
Really?
It's
Is
a tie
it?
game.
Is it a tie? What?
Came back.
There are 2 questions left.
I'm gonna punch you with my answers,
I
Joseph.
will punch you in the shirt.
Yeah, that's correct. So, 21 years old, you guys. He did like about 5 years for the crime.
It's hard time.
Yeah. So he's released from Atascadero State Hospital in 1969. He is released to his mother's home against the implicit recommendation of his doctor. It was said that they were urged that living with his mother should be the one place that he did not release him. They recommended a halfway house. They recommended like this work program. And almost immediately after moving in with his mom, he's arguing with her. He begins to collect knives and eventually guns. At this point, he's as tall as he's going to get, and he is 6'9", 300 pounds. Yeah. Later, in 1969, Edmund attended the community college nearby while being monitored by the youth authority. He cruised through school like it was easy to him while attending and getting mainly A's. Ed is considered square by his peers in the hippie counterculture movement of the late 60s. This is due in large part to the fact that he missed the beginning of the hippie movement and the beginning of his adolescence sitting in the Atascadero State Hospital with the other rapists, murderers, and a group of psychologists. Mm-hmm. So from 15 to 21, he's in there and like misses the beginning of like peace, love, like he wasn't
Whole
there.
Forrest Gump thing.
And yeah, so when he comes out
That
of
was
it,
the best time to be there.
Don't tell
Yeah.
me about the movie.
Well, I mean,
guys.
like on the
haven't seen
streets.
it.
is that real?
I swear I have never seen Forrest Gump.
Whoa.
I swear. I just
Really?
go to Bubba Gumps, but I've never.
But dude, probably like 3 years ago, I put on Forrest Gump just to watch it, and Danny was like sitting there, and like every scene, she was like so intently focused, and I was like,
Is it on Netflix?
"Have you seen this?" And
It
she's like, "I've never
was.
seen it."
I'm gonna
So it was
see
her
that.
first time seeing it, and she like cried and she laughed. It was like took her through all the fucking took her through the roller coaster.
I'm trying to go on that roller coaster.
Just go rent it from iTunes for $5. Get the SD. You don't need an HD, bro.
All right, you guys convinced me.
It's
You guys
worth it.
convinced me.
It's
We'll do
a cinematic classic.
I'm gonna watch it for you, Greg. he looks up.
He said,
I don't get to see Greg. He's on the other side.
"You can come over and see him when we take a little break."
I don't want to.
Okay, so I mean, he seems to be like, for the most part, besides being kind of like hated on a little bit by the hippies, which were a lot of people in Santa Cruz at the time.
At the time,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So since I think he was sort of ostracized by the younger kids and by the hippies, Ed's eventual hope is that he can become a law enforcement officer. But he's going to be denied at both the local, state, and police departments, not because of the double murder of his grandparents, but because of his maximum height requirements for the police officers. So he's just too fucking tall to do it. It was just, don't even apply. You're too big, man. His real dream was to be a motorcycle cop. Now, he's realizing it's never going to fucking happen. So he ends up getting a job with the highway department as, what do they call it? A construction flagman. So that dude that, holds the stop or slow sign?
I hate that guy.
Gets paid more than any of us in this room make. And he's, no hate. Like, congratulations to that guy.
and he's got an IQ of 140.
Yes. So, he's doing that. He's, he buys a motorcycle. He's making good money doing it. He buys a motorcycle to if I can't be a motorcycle cop, I'm going to get a motorcycle and I'm going to fucking ride it around. I'm going to deal with my disappointment this way. Almost immediately, Ed crashes the motorcycle, injuring his head. From his insurance company, he'll receive a settlement, and he used this money to buy a car that resembles an unmarked police patrol car. In 1970, he's now 22 years old. He purchases a radio receiver transmitter to listen to police broadcasts. So at this point, right, he's a true wannabe cop. He's got the car that kind of looks like a cop car. He's got the radio scanner. Through 70 and 71, Ed is going to begin cruising highways and picking up female hitchhikers, refining his techniques like befriending them, getting them into the car.
Classic.
He's
Big classic
he's
moves.
just out practicing. He's getting himself comfortable with it. In some interviews, he talks about this being his practice of restraint Sometimes he would have a gun or knife in the car because he was able to purchase a 22 caliber pistol. We'll talk about that a little later. But Ed starts making friends with police officers because, right, what do you do if you want to be a cop? You hang out with cops. Like, why not? He does this in a bar. Question number 9. What was the bar called? Is it A, the Oasis, B, the Jury Room, C, Thin Blue Line, or D, Mike's Tavern?
One more
The
time?
Oasis, the Jury Room, Thin Blue Line, or Mike's Tavern. All right, we've got 1 Thin Blue Line, 1 Mike's Tavern. It's Joseph Thin Blue Line, Alex Mike's Taverns. 0 points for everybody.
Yep.
This is the Jury Room. It was right across the street from the courthouse, so appropriately named.
I went with like the one that was like too obvious.
I felt like that was like.
That's
it was
why I
just-
went with it, man. No. Wild card.
I literally was trying to think of a cop bar name. I was like, I don't know, man. It was the Thin Blue Line.
The donut hole, the urinal cake.
Red, white.
What did you say?
I was just gonna say red, white, and blue, but that was patriotic. It wasn't police.
So yeah, he's hanging out with the officers in the jury room. He frequents the bar. He becomes known to the police officers. Like, they're very aware of him. They call him Big Ed. He seems to be like the kind of guy who like sort of bugs you, but you've been hanging out now, or you had 2 or 3 beers, and you're like, man, I'm just like Mr.
He says things like dogs can't look up.
Yeah, I forgot about that, Big Ed. Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Have
So-
you seen that one?
Yeah, I think you let me borrow it one
Yeah,
time.
I think I made him watch it.
Yeah.
I used to give him homework. I'm like, dog, you haven't seen Office Space?
I'm like 4 working at
You
the
haven't
store we
seen
used to work
or
at.
You didn't.
He gave it to me to watch,
Yeah.
so I watched it.
You watched it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what's up.
The swing line. See, I got that.
Yeah, burn this place down. Strychnine in the guacamole. So after May 7th, 1972, after many rides given to hitchhikers in which he was able to restrain himself, it was time to pull the trigger, so to speak. Before we jump into it, let's take a quick break here. We've done a lot. We've gone through 9 questions. Now we're going to do some murders, and there'll be a 10th question at or towards the end. Yeah, man, come back or we'll kill you. You guys need... Welcome back, everybody. There's a lot of stuff Greg's gonna have to cut, even though it was off air. We're just gonna have to burn all that. If you'll remember, we were talking May 7th, 1972. He's been given rides to hitchhikers for a long time, like a year and a half. He's just been doing it and practicing his restraint. He says, "Can you tell what colors I like?"
I like
man?
it.
So he picks up 2 students. You know what? I'm gonna add a bonus question here
Okay.
because I meant for there to be a question here.
Lay it down.
He's gonna pick
Extra
up these
credit.
2 students in Berkeley. Since I didn't write it down, I'm just gonna go.
Okay.
Let's go 500 points if you can just guess it.
Picks up. What was the question?
It's just the college. What college did they attend?
Oh, okay.
So he's going to pick them up in Berkeley, but you guys know this college, and it is in California. Let's go with that. It's not going to be some obscure college. It's a college that you are aware of.
Don't think I spelled that right.
500 points if you guess it right.
This is bad.
Totally meant to write this question in, so sorry, everybody. All right, what do you got? All right, Alex says Cal Poly. Joseph says UC Merced, which I believe was founded in 2003.
I didn't know that.
As soon as you said that, I just yeah.
Yeah, so
I didn't.
That's
know
a-
Joseph definitely not right. Unfortunately, Alex, you are not right either.
Is it
He
UC?
picks up 2 students, Marianne Pesci and Anita Lucchesi, 2 students from Fresno State. Yes. These two Fresno State students were looking for a ride to Stanford while they were in Berkeley. I believe it was Marianne. She was like a veteran hitchhiker, and she had a bad feeling about Ed. Was not down, and Anita was like, "Come on, like just look at him. He's a big old teddy bear. Like, we're fine. Like let's go. We got this." And so she talks her into it, and she gets in, and Ed drives a 2-door car. So that means someone is getting a seat folded forward and getting stuffed into the back, which you're not fucking getting out unless someone lets you out.
Which means you have to sit next to Ed because he probably had that seat all the way back.
Yeah.
So sitting in the back
Big-ass
seat was just like sitting next to him.
Yeah, but think though, this is 1972. Every car was gigantic. He was sitting fine up front by himself. Like that seat was like in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of them gets into the back. I believe Anita gets into the back. Marianne gets into the front. And Ed had this move where he'd be like, "Oh, I don't think you pulled the door shut all the way." And he's a fucking giant, so he'd reach over and he would drop a chapstick into the door handle, which disabled it from being open unless he reached in and like fished the chapstick out. But in a panic, nobody was going to be doing that.
In the door handle?
Yeah,
Inside?
so he'd like drop it in, like behind it to where when you pulled on it, it didn't,
it just kind of jammed it up.
He jammed it up real hard. So yeah, that's what he would do. She gets in, he reaches across, drops the chapstick in, jams him up. They're trying to go to Stanford. He's just kind of chatting with him. He's been practicing 2 years, trying to distract people with conversation. So he does so and gets him turned around and goes the opposite way of Stanford. And he starts heading up this road into a secluded wooded area that he remembers from his days in the highway department. He takes Anita and he puts her in the trunk of the car and closes it. I believe he handcuffed her as well. And he begins to strangle Marianne, but does it unsuccessfully. It's very hard to do. Ask BTK. Mm-hmm. It's not it could take like 3 minutes to strangle somebody. So, and if I'm not mistaken, he may have put a bag over her head.
Okay.
He didn't complete it this way. Anyway, he then stabs her several times all over the body. But he was surprised at how she would not die. How he thought she would. There's a quote in one of his interviews. We'll put it on Instagram. It's him saying like, I was stabbing her and I just wanted her to die. You see in the movies, people get stabbed and they die, but like in real life, people leak to death. And it was just such a grim thing to hear, him say. But he had this thing where he was like the breasts embarrassed him. So I guess at one point, like when he was taking her out of the car, he like grazed against one of her boobs with the back of his hand. And I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about that. And when he was stabbing her, he was stabbing her like in the sides and the stomach, and he wanted to get her in the heart, but he couldn't get past the fact that he'd have to stab through her breasts to do it.
He had some hang up.
Huge hang up. Like it was just a part of women he couldn't like access. He couldn't do it. So he was mad that she wasn't dying. His whole thing, like they leaked to death. He stabs her several times all over. She just kept screaming. He didn't realize it would be so hard, so he eventually cuts her throat, about which he said, after her fighting, quote, "Then she got her throat cut." It wasn't in such a gnarly tone. I just had to add that because he's a dick face. Ed removes Anita from the trunk after that. What a douchey thing to say. Like, it's her fault, right? Because of her actions, she got her throat cut. Like, you fucking asshole. He pulls Anita from the trunk and attempts to stab her with an even larger knife. This is like a pawn shop knife he bought for like $9. Greg, if you can convert us, 1972. It's like a dull knife. I think at one point he says like it wasn't a very good knife anyway. Because the first time he stabs her, she's wearing like denim overalls or coveralls, one or the other. And his first swing, $55. So it was a big knife. It was like a big buck knife.
That's not a knife.
Yeah. And so he hits her in those, and I'm sure it hurt the shit out of her, but the knife wasn't sharp enough to break the fabric.
Jammed her.
So he said that it like threw her up into the roof of the car. Like he hit her with enough force to like
send her up
and hit the like fly up to the top of the car. So it probably hurt like a motherfucker, but it did not break the fabric or skin. But eventually he did, and he would stab her several times and slice her throat as well. Ed would then pack them both into his trunk and take them into his home. He would undress and dissect their bodies. He decapitated and kept their heads for doing weird oral stuff before disposing of them in a ditch when they probably got a little too sneaky. This is his thing, man. He kills and then he desecrates the bodies and heads, because his decapitation is going to be like one of the first things he does at every turn. He's very enamored with decapitations. Let's see. Yeah, sorry, this is fucked up. August of 1972, Marianne's head was found in a ravine, and police identified Anita's head, but the bodies were never found. September 14th, 1972, Ed is going to pick up Aiko Ku, a 15-year-old ballerina who had missed the bus to dance class. There's two different stories here. Is that she missed the bus to dance class, so was hitchhiking for a ride, or another one says that she was trying to get to like some ballet thing in San Francisco. Whatever it was, he picks up 15-year-old Aiko Ku. She is in the car, and she starts to kind of, I think, sense something, and he pulls the gun out, like, I think sensing that she's sensing something. And he tells her, like, I'm not here to kill you, but I am going to kill myself, and you're going to watch. And so he takes her, I think it's just his ruse, I'm like, this is how I'm going to get her to calm the fuck down. Excuse me. So he does that, and they get to the destination, and when he gets out, he locks himself out of the car with the gun inside.
What a dummy.
Aiko Ku had sort of gained her trust. Although she felt weird, she thought, I just need to, at this point, just let this guy kill himself so I can get the fuck out of here. So she let him in. Like, not even thinking to grab the gun and, maybe do something to that
Get her
effect.
way out of there.
I mean, yeah, I'm not trying to blame her for anything that happened. But so lets him back into the car, and he tries to kill her by putting tape over her mouth and then sticking his fingers up her nostrils. But she keeps working the tape away from her mouth and getting enough breath. He said that he would eventually be able to kill her. He would strangle her with her own scarf. He would lay her body out and rape the body right there next to the car. He then placed the body into the trunk of the car and went to the bar nearby for drinks. He said that while at the bar, he got the idea to walk back out to the car, and in the parking lot, opened the trunk and admired her body, quote, like a fisherman admires his catch. He brought her body to his house and again dissected her. He removed the bullet from her head, removed her head and hands. Aiko's mother called the police to report the disappearance of her daughter and put up hundreds of flyers asking for information as to her whereabouts, but never received any responses regarding her daughter's location or status until Kemper was caught. He did what he did with the body, then took and threw her head somewhere, then took her hands and threw them somewhere separately as well. September 16th, 1972, Ed visits a court-appointed psychologist who stated that there was nothing wrong with him. The psychologist said that if they did not know the history of Ed and the context, they would have said that he was a well-adjusted man. During this visit, he still had the head of Aiko Ku in his trunk in a duffel bag.
Weird.
That's crazy.
So I think that's like where the IQ comes in. Maybe it's not necessarily a genius, but I feel like he fucking, he understands people. Mm-hmm. Like he understands how to play the game. He's emotionless about it too. So, this court-appointed psychologist, like, this guy is fine. Like, I know he murdered his grandparents when he was 15, but like, he's out because we don't think he's sick anymore. And so he had a decapitated head in his trunk. Some, swing and a miss, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Later that day, he disposed of the head, probably getting a little nervous. January 8th, 1973, he officially buys a .22 caliber Ruger handgun. And when I say officially, I mean like he goes into a store and is able to purchase
buys it.
a .22 caliber Ruger handgun. He very much loves this gun, and he was afraid that he was going to be caught because he was not allowed to own a gun due to his previous felony convictions. Riding high on the purchase of the gun, he picked up a girl named Cindy Shaw and drove her to Watsonville. He placed her in the trunk where he shot her in the head and took her to his mother's house. Ed said that his mother nearly walked in on him stuffing the body into his closet, and that he stood there and talked to his mom for 30 minutes, and she had no idea. Like, he had no break in stride. He was just normal old Ed doing whatever he was doing. So, yeah. January 9th, Ed's going to have sex with the body of Shaw. He would then dismember Shaw and bury her in his backyard. Didn't learn his lesson. He then threw the rest of her remains off a cliff, which were found the next day, I believe, by fishermen. February 5th, 1973, after a fight with his mother, he stormed out, ready to kill, and picked up Rosalind Thorpe and Alice Liu. So a lot of the pickups to kill, I think, all came after a fight with his mother. So he didn't have as close as a relationship as...
Mama, I killed Dave.
Like, he wasn't making that call to his mom. I guess he kind of did at one point, but not anymore. They've grown farther apart by now. So at this point, too, I should say, there's like 4 co-eds missing, and the police are saying, hey, listen, don't hitchhike right now. Only get into cars that have a university sticker on them. Like, unless it's an official car, don't get in it. Like, that's the rule. But
Maybe
Ed,
cool it on hitchhiking anywhere.
yeah, but Ed had an all-access university sticker on his car because his mom worked at the university somewhere deep in campus, therefore giving her and he picked her up from work almost every day. Wow. So he's got this all-access sticker on his car, making him appear like he's a perfectly safe person to get. He's got the most exclusive sticker you can get. Perfect storm. So, he fights with his mom, and he goes out and murders people because of it, I believe is what's happening. So Rosalind Thorpe and Alice Liu, he stated that the next good-looking girl he saw would die. He didn't even stop the car to kill them. While they were driving, he turned to Alice in the back seat and shot her several times. She did not die right away. He would shoot Rosalind point blank and went into a cul-de-sac and placed their bodies in the trunk. He would later behead them. The following morning, Ed brought Alice's body into his home and had sex with her body and removed the bullet from Rosalind's head, which is something that he, like I said, is going to do pretty much the entire time. He disposed of some parts of the body the next day in Santa Cruz. On 4/20, 1973, Ed had recently had a terrible day and would often... like every time Ed would have a bad day, he would like keep his mom up all night, like venting and talking. And his mom fucking hated it. Unless she like let him know about it. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, come on, dude. Like, you got to get over this shit. You can't be keeping me up all night talking about this. So, he walks into his mom's room this night and he's looking for like some love or some support or like something. And she says to him, she says to him, I suppose you want to stay up all night talking. And he said, no. And he turned around and she'd hurt his feelings again. Ed's always taken it pretty hard. He said he just went and laid in his bed for about 4 hours. Then he walked into her room and killed his mother with a claw hammer while she was sleeping. He slashed her throat and placed the larynx in the garbage disposal, but eventually it was tossed back out and wouldn't shred. He then took his mom's head and did so much. He violated her orally. He put her up on the mantle and fucking screamed at her. There's one story that says he threw darts at it. Who knows what's true? I think most come from him, so there would be evidence of darts, I'm guessing. But he just kills the shit out of his mom. He's very mad at her for what she made him do to her. You know what I mean? Like, I think that was what it was. So later in the day, he decides to kill someone else to ensure that the suspicion would not be on him. So he invites his mom's friend to the home, Sarah Hallett. just hits his mom's friend up like, "Hey, Sarah, come over. Like, we're gonna do dinner tonight." And she's like, "Yeah, all right. Like, that sounds pretty cool. It's weird. Ed's calling me, but like, yeah, I'll go over there." So she comes over under the pretense of dinner. When she arrived, Ed would almost immediately strangle her to death with the scarf that he had kept from Aiko Ku. So the scarf has 2 kills under its belt.
So why did he invite her over?
Because he thought if he killed his mom and just dipped, it would look for sure like it was him. But he thought if his mom and her friend were there and he killed them and they were like there together, it would look less like it was him, and maybe it was like some random event. Because why would he have a reason to kill his mom's friend? You know, who knows? That's his
See, that's
thought
that
process.
140 IQ.
Yeah, maybe working against him. So let's see. He would also have sex with Sarah Hallett's body that night as well after decapitating it. The next day, April 21st, 1973, Ed is 24 years old at this point, mind you. He leaves town in Sarah's car and rents a separate car for fear of being discovered in hers. He drops off Sarah's car at a repair shop, pretending that it needed some regular maintenance, and never went back to pick it up. He then drove 18 hours, stopping only for gas, no-dos, and soda. In Colorado, Ed was stopped for speeding, paid the fine, and went on his way. Then he became tired of driving and stopped in Pueblo, Colorado. He called the Santa Cruz Police Department. Remember, he knows some of these cops, so he starts calling, and I don't think that they believed him at all. He had to call several times to prove that it was not a prank, and had to tell them where he was. And because he drove to Colorado all fucked up on no-dos and just like drove it straight through, he didn't even like really know exactly where he was at first. So they drive to Colorado, they find him. He said that he drove to Colorado because he thought the officers that knew him would shoot first and ask questions later if they realized who he was. Because at this point, he's a pretty infamous killer. He was then taken into custody and would confess to all 8 murders in great detail. While returning to Santa Cruz, Ed took investigators to various disposal sites where they thought the investigation would never end. The court-appointed defender, James Jackson, had no strategy for a defense except for claiming insanity. All witnesses that testified stating that Ed did not know what he was doing. They were all discredited by the prosecution. So they were like, dude, you fucking know what you were doing. The most damaging witness against him was Dr. Joel Fort, who claimed that Ed was not paranoid schizophrenic, that he knew exactly what he was doing. He was just obsessed with sex and violence and craved attention. I can't imagine going up there and being like, I'm insane, like, I know these things are sick, like, blah, blah, and some doctor going up like, actually, he just gets a real hard dick from killing, and he fucking loves attention, so that's what's actually happening. And you're just like, no. So, let's see. April of 73, Ed's going to try to slash his wrists during the course of the trial. Question number, the last. This is for all the marbles. If neither of you get it here, there's going to be an artistic challenge.
Ooh.
And we all know how that's decided. Co-host Greg over here licking his chops.
I hope we don't go to that, guys.
Question number 10. What did he try to slit his wrist with? Sorry, you never end a sentence with the preposition. With what did he try to slit his wrist? Was it A, a knife, B, a homemade shank, C, a ballpoint pen, or D, his glasses? Knife, homemade shank, ballpoint pen, glasses. Joseph says glasses. Alex says ballpoint pen. Guess what, guys? There's a winner. Damn. Why'd you say damn? You made a guess.
To draw.
Today's winner. Ballpoint pen. Alex. The episode 61 season premiere champion.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations.
I couldn't have done it without all you guys listening. Just want to let you guys know that.
You know, if anyone were to win this episode, I'm glad it's you.
Oh, thank you.
Some amicable losing by our good friend JXEXPH. It's like Joseph, but
But cooler.
Yeah. Yes, he tries to kill himself with a ballpoint pen. Clearly not successful. Fucking duh.
That
no one.
IQ, guys. Come
Yeah, I think he's just desperate at this point. No one could prove his insanity, and therefore he was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced on all 8 counts. He was placed under observation at Vacaville Medical Facility and then sent to maximum security prison at Folsom for life. Then, when asked what type of punishment he thought was appropriate during an interview, Ed said he should be tortured, or he should be given death by torture.
That's so weird.
You should have said gas chamber.
I was.
Would have come full circle, and we could have ended right there. 1980, Ed became eligible for parole for the first time. So here's the thing about his, and I wish that I knew the difference so I could tell you. There's concurrent sentences, and then there's consecutive sentences. So concurrent, you're serving them all at once. Consecutive, you serve them back to back, or if you lose one, one's still there. So his are concurrent. So he's serving like 7 to 81 years or something for what he's done. Like that's how his sentence works out. He became eligible for parole at 31. He's been denied 6 times essentially since his first attempt. In 1988, at the age of 40, Ed and John Wayne Gacy took part in a broadcast by satellite where they discussed the details of their crimes in an interview with FBI agent Robert Ressler. That's the base of Mindhunter. Like that's
I
where,
love Mindhunter.
Yeah. Didn't see Mindhunter?
It's
Nah.
good. You should watch it.
I didn't either. I'm not a huge
Is
TV
it a
guy.
movie
But
or a TV
It's a TV show.
it's a
There's
Netflix
multiple
show.
different.
Yeah,
It's-
Cameron Britton killed it.
Yeah.
He did a very good Ed Kemper. If you watch the interviews and
It's
watch like his
creepy.
portrayal of it, he did a
If
very
I remember
good job.
correctly, like that show kind of like it's based on like the real dudes that like you know, but it's like they kind of coined the term serial killer.
Oh
Yes,
wait,
exactly.
I totally watched the first episode of.
It's a little
Mindhunter.
slow to get into. Like,
Not like the
you
full-
have to like get into about episode 3, and it really like is great.
Okay.
Like I said, I haven't seen it, but I am aware of the story, and I have seen clips of Cameron Britton.
Yeah.
Is
Now
that
I
his-
know what show you're talking
I
about.
wrote it here.
And
Yeah,
if,
Cameron
if
Britton.
you guys are intrigued by that, they show a few other serial killers on the show too. I can't think of like names off the top of my head, but there's a few other like ones that I'm sure
I'm gonna have to watch
Jesse
it
and Greg
eventually.
have brought up. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool, guys.
Yeah, man, check it out. Recommended by Alex. I watched The Simpsons.
I really like Trailer Park Boys.
From 90 to 99, since 1990, he has recorded, I want to say it's something like 5,000 audio tapes for the blind. They were saying on last podcast that he very well could be like one of the more prominent like voice actors in California right now, or not right now, like in the
At the
90s.
time.
He did a bunch. I actually have a clip for you guys from a book called Flowers in the Attic. So we're gonna let me find that real quick here. All right, here we go.
Chapter 1. Goodbye, Daddy. Truly, when I was very young, way back in the 50s, I believed all of life would be like one long and perfect summer day. After all, it did start out that way. There's not much I can say about our earliest childhood except that it was very good, and for that, I should be everlastingly grateful.
You get the idea. He was a well-spoken man. There is no doubt.
He said everlasting.
He did
good
say
word.
that at some point, I do believe.
That is a good word.
Yeah, so I mean, he's they said that Ed routinely still answers fan mail at the prison and enjoys his notoriety. To date, all petitions for parole have been denied. If I'm not mistaken, like I want to say in like 2009 or something like that, they came out and said like don't worry, like he's not fucking going anywhere. So Ed Kemper remains in Folsom, doing his damn thing. He's never going anywhere. He killed 10 people in total, including his mom and his grandparents. Yeah, man, that's Ed Kemper, guys. Congratulations again goes to Alex for taking it down. Very good win.
Thank you.
Clutch at the end. Joseph, way to come back.
Thank you.
I was proud of your comeback attempts. Just fell a little short, and that's okay. Here, I'll give you one of these.
I prefer that clap.
Yeah. So let's hear that little story you got, man.
Yeah. So this, I haven't done a story in a while, so I'm a little rusty, guys. But this story that I found that my friend actually sent me, that is pretty good. It's a little loose though because the people involved in the story, they're both like underage. So I couldn't find any like information on their names. It was kind of vague, but I believe the title of the story was 13-year-old arrested after setting 14-year-old friend on fire. Yeah.
Perfect.
So I want to say this happened on the 20th of August, so about 3 weeks ago.
Recent.
Yeah, pretty recent, a couple weeks back. But yeah, so 13-year-old has recently been arrested after police said that he had an argument with his 14-year-old friend over who was gonna like start the grill. They were like trying to barbecue outside.
Oh shit! I
So-
don't like where this is going.
Yeah, it started.
Sounds like the 13-year-old one.
It got kind of heated. You see what I did there? It got
This guy should write for Jimmy
yep.
Fallon.
But yeah, so police showed up to the scene to find the 14-year-old with like tons of burns to his torso and like his arms. He was just like completely like covered in flames. But it was discovered that, like I said, that the argument was about who's gonna light the grill, which I found was like kind of weird. Like, it was so like
I for sure probably have like duked it out with my brother over who was going to get to like light a fire. You know what I mean? But I had never thought to like douse him in the fluid and set him ablaze.
Yeah,
because-
it was reported that it was just like it started off as like a very innocent argument, and then the 13-year-old like kind of took it a little bit too physical. Started like pushing the 14-year-old, and then just like out of nowhere like doused him in lighter fluid, and just completely set like his clothes ablaze. Like literally just like got a lighter, and you know. But then it was also reported that a witness saw the incident, and that the 14-year-old boy was like seen rolling on the ground, like screaming, like just trying to put out the flames. And so he eventually got taken to the hospital with third-degree burns, and he had basically like burns over 15% of his whole body. And the 13-year-old boy was charged with malicious bodily injury by means of caustic substance. So
Damn.
I think it's still developing, the story. So if you guys want to look into it, that'd be cool. If you guys can
we'll
find
follow
some
up with that
names.
later.
That'd be
We'll
kinda
probably never find names
Probably
because of
not.
the minors, but maybe
Yeah.
that's crazy. That's like the same crime as when you throw acid in someone's face. That's like the same charge you'd get.
Yep. So it was just kind of interesting.
Wow.
It's kind of vague, but
So here's the deal, everybody. Thank you, by the way.
yeah,
that was.
yeah.
That was. Let's give you another one. Yeah.
Hit him with the air horn too.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, boy. Yeah. Here's the thing, everybody. I was a kid, and I had a brother who was a year and a half younger than me, and he was a goddamn fuckface, I thought. But to him, I was a goddamn fuckface as well. It's never okay to light your friends on fire.
Don't do it, guys.
All right? So just don't.
Wasn't that the name of a band? I set my friends on
Yeah.
fire.
I believe it was. It didn't say, I think it's right to set my friends on fire, though.
No, you're thinking of Earth, Wind, and Fire.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, man.
I thought that was funny. Just
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
the
that's all
story. Good win.
Thanks.
Brought a
Thanks,
win
guys.
and a story. I should have introduced you first.
It's okay.
All right, listen. He said injurely. Okay,
I
are we just gonna
did,
ignore
I
that?
didn't think anybody. I was gonna say, Greg, edit that out, but it's
Hey,
you can leave it in now.
It'll never happen.
Joseph, social media is anything you want to throw out there at the end here, buddy?
One time.
You already know Instagram JXZXPH.
It's like
It's like
Joseph,
Joseph.
but cooler.
Other than that,
Yeah, check him out. Saving the best for last, Alex.
Thanks. Yeah, guys, follow me on Instagram, Mocha Freeman. I take photos sometimes.
They get photos.
Thanks, man.
Down in that bunker, across the internet. Co-host Greg, is there anything you'd like to add to the end of the show here this evening?
At Hella Greg on all your favorite social medias. Rate, review, subscribe.
Give it a
Patreon.com. 805-666-25.
I'll put all this in the outro.
I don't know. That's all I've got.
He's just spewing information.
Like,
at this
comment,
point.
and subscribe.
He even pointed down too. I think it's a subscribe button right here.
It is. It's right
If you're
there.
on my
in case you-
Instagram, link in the description.
Yeah, so this is a lot of fun, you guys. Thanks for getting the season premiere started with me. Ed Kemper, dude. Fuck, man. I wanted to bring you guys like
That was a
a
good
solid
one.
hammer. I'm sorry you didn't know about him,
No,
but you got
I
to
now
hear,
know
and
about
now you're aware of.
Fuck that guy.
You should watch Mindhunter, dude.
I'm definitely going to.
So everybody, get out there and watch Mindhunter on the recommendation of Alec. You've all already seen it. It's the minority of us who have not.
It's good.
Congratulations to Alex on the win.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, co-host Greg. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Alex. And thank you, everybody, for listening to the season premiere, episode 61 of the Serial Chillers podcast. Bye. That was episode 61, the season premiere. Holy shit, Ed Kemper, dudes. Oh my god. All right. I'm shook. Well, I hope I did the story justice for some of you that know every in and out of it. And for those of you who are just fair weather Ed Kemper fans, I hope you enjoyed it as well. On last podcast, they continually referred to him as a bumblebutt. And I believe that is the most accurate description possible. So, fuck you, Ed Kemper. Thank you to Joseph and Alex for coming out once again. You guys are an absolute pleasure each time you have come out. Check out Joseph's boring ass Instagram at JXZXPH. It's like Joseph but cooler. Alex does photos. Get a load of him on Insta at Mocha Freeman. Reach out to the show if you guys want. There's so many ways. On Facebook, it's Serial Chillers Podcast. The Facebook group is Serial Chillers Podcast. Instagram at Serial Chillers Podcast. The Twitter is at Chillers Podcast. Email serialchillerspodcast at gmail.com. Call or text the voicemail line 1-805-666-2513. Do that, you guys. Submissions by October 19th. We're putting together the Halloween special. If you want to be on that, you can record something and email it to us. You can send it through Facebook. You can write it down. If it's not your own personal story and it's just a story you found but think it would be perfect for the Halloween special, please send it over, record it, however you want to do it. We want to hear from you guys. This episode is going to be driven by you, the fans. So you can find merchandise at serialchillerspodcast.threadless.com. Rate, review on everything that you can. Patreon.com/Serial Chillers Podcast for anybody who wants to give to the show. Thank you to everybody who has already done that. SerialChillersPodcast.com has got stickers and other little goodies. Today's episode was brought to you by Fluffy Hen Resin. She is one of our wonderful Patreon supporters. Please go support her. She makes wonderful resin accessories and jewelry, and she does some crystals and false crystals and just some really great, really creative, really cool work. So check out Fluffy Hen Resin. The Instagram is at fluffyhen_resin, and she has an Etsy shop as well. She's from Australia, so we've got etsy.com/au/shop/fluffyhenresin. Again, that's etsy.com/au/shop/fluffyhenresin. Support the fans, support the people that are making cool things. That's what it's all about, everybody. Thank you for listening to episode 61 of the Serial Chillers podcast, and don't talk to strangers.
This has been another presentation from Super Network.